So first off, apologies about the quality of the video. I'm using my front-facing camera on my phone just to make sure I stay in frame, kind of. I don't really have a good setup to record this, but I just wanted to get this done quick. But I wanted to show some kind of ways to do sport-specific style training, or at least principles behind it, and how to kind of do exercise variations or make your training a little more bizarre, work with what you have for equipment and kind of modify exercises a bit, or techniques to training to get more out of it for your specific sports or goals and make more of limited equipment. Also kind of how I jerry-rig some equipment here to make better use of it. I'll set it up after, but just to start off with what I kind of mean talking about jerry-rig some equipment. This attachment is meant to be a hamstring curl. There was a bar coming out here, just like the ones here, that you're supposed to be able to put your legs around and pull up, but my legs are too long for that. So instead, what I did, and it's kind of falling apart, so I won't be able to use this current setup for much longer. I'll have to redo it, but just braided a very thick rope through it, tied it, and then taped it in place around a steel bar, and then tied that through the hole that the pegs were going through. And I can kind of use it for a weird T-bar row variation-ish like exercise. So I'll put some weight on it to better demonstrate it later after some of these exercises, but just to kind of start off showing the jerry-rigged equipment, I can stand in place and do a pretty decent row, you know, switch grips around, come in a little closer, do single arm stuff with just the rope. It's hard to do sitting down because of the position and the way this is pulling you down and forward. You can kind of do it if you really plant your feet and, like, almost in essence make it a stability exercise too, so you can't really do it with the heaviest weights, but obviously being a single peg, it can't hold a ton of weight to begin with. But as opposed to just doing something like barbell rows, it's a nice change. And so first thing I was going to demonstrate for exercises and principles here in training was being lazy and making the best use of being lazy. I'm going to turn another light on here. Sorry about this. Get a little more light for you. But I ended my last workout down here doing Zercher squats. I'm not going to do them now because they hurt, don't have a sweatshirt on, and I just did them. But so coming down, getting low, coming up in a squat position with it, with my elbows under the bar. And I'm being lazy, left it the bar, you know, as is. This is a home gym, so I didn't unrack and didn't feel bad about that. But so starting off this workout, I wanted to make use of the fact that I already have all of these plates on the bar and can do some pretty heavy exercises without getting a little fatigued to begin with, just trying to load up the plates. And when I say heavy, I don't mean like be doing something that's close to your max weight. I mean heavy as in just an exercise that's, you know, more of a CNS stimulating exercise. There's more weight to it, not close to your max for the exercise necessarily. So something that is like that for me that I can do with this is kind of a variation of rack pulls. And obviously this isn't a normal squat rack. There's a bench in between my legs, but with a decent stance, I can still do rack pulls on it from above the knee. Don't really have any chalk, so it's definitely a tested grip. I'm doing double overhand, and I don't like using straps, so at the very least I can work my grip doing this to start off and kind of warm up my back for some heavier exercises. This is 390 on the bar to warm up. So at this point, my grip is getting pretty fatigued, And my back is certainly feeling it a little bit. I'm gonna switch it up, do this easier to grip position for me, and kind of weird, almost hack squat variation, slash behind the back deadlift. It's not really either. I'm still doing it like a rack pull. And the reason I say hack squat or quarter squat is it's still very minimal range of motion, still high CNS fatigue, still trying to keep myself going, a little minimal rest here, and just use the muscles that I haven't completely fatigued yet, which my hamstrings and butt are a little more fatigued, my quads still have a little more in them yet, and this is an easier position for me to grip from. So getting creative here, going behind the back, still using that same 390 weight, being lazy. And at this point I can't grip that for any longer, but I still want to keep, pushing my CNS, really warming up. That's what those early exercises are for, is they aren't supposed to be the max load. It's supposed to be something that gets you primed, gets those muscle groups. Hopefully you've already done stretching. Like, you shouldn't be putting yourself at risk of injury. At the very least, stretch with a lighter weight for the exercise, but I didn't do that here. I did some normal stretching, some dynamic stretches prior, but I still want to be doing something right now to push myself. So I've got a 35-pound kettlebell here, nothing heavy. I've got another weird little implement of mine, 2 hex dumbbells sets taped together. They weren't really heavy enough for me to want to use them individually or be able to make good use of them individually. So one's a 25-pounder, one's a 20-pounder. For each, I taped them together, so they're each 45s, and I can do some interesting stuff with that as a result. So right now the 20-pound one is on the outside, the 25 is closer to me, in my hands right now. Doing hammer curls. There is a longer lever. Like, the center of mass in this weight is further out as a result of the fact that it's kind of longer. And it makes it harder than just doing them with normal 45-pound dumbbells. Can make that even harder now by swapping that around, gripping the 20s, and putting the center of mass even further out, giving it a longer lever arm to the center of mass. Not changing the actual lever arm, just to the center of mass here. By redistributing where the mass is located in the weight. Now let's say I really want to, do something much easier with that same weight, still working the biceps. They're starting to fatigue a little. Working the shoulders still a little here, working the biceps. Getting the traps involved a little, kind of doing an upright row. And what else is kind of nice with these is I prefer to grip the heavier side with this. It really doesn't make much of a difference where the center of mass is sitting, but I don't like it slamming, the 25 slamming into the back of my wrist. They both kind of hurt, 20 or 25, but the less weight the better. When it's slamming into your wrist, I can grip it. Do some quick dumbbell overhead press. And this is still reasonably doable for me in regards to, like, I feel fatigued, taxed cardiovascularly, but over years of doing stuff like this, my CNS has adapted to these high demand workloads that strongman style training kind of does. And so something else I kind of want to demonstrate is I can do very similar exercises with that, like the upright row variation with a kettlebell. equipment doesn't have to be limiting. You can work with what you got. Just know the joint, proper movement patterns that are safe for the joint, what range of motions you need to limit exercises to. Know what muscle groups you're involving with the exercise, what's primarily being used for the exercise, and how that's gonna play into your exercise selection. And you can kind of make your own creative stuff. For instance, let's say I want to do something that's like prepping me for the clean and press, but really high volume. I'm just trying to work conditioning. Well, I might take a grip on a kettlebell, something like this, flip it up, press, flip it up, press. So I'm, working similar muscle groups, kind of the same muscle groups to what would be used in a log press. Not using a log, don't have a log here. Not using anywhere near the weight I would use for a log, but still pushing those neuromuscular adaptations while I'm already fatigued, while my muscles are already taxed and not going to be able to handle the higher weight, to be better able to do these exercises. So, something else kind of nice is you want to pick exercises if you're getting close to, let's say, a strongman competition that have a high degree of translatability to the event you're doing if you can't practice the event itself. I've never done a competition with single arm overhead stone presses, but I've seen plenty and I still like to prep for it. So, man, I'm winded. Still want to push myself. So something that I could do with a kettlebell that would prep me for a stone press to some degree, a pretty good degree, is, and now I'm going to have to set it. Like, I won't be able to just pick it up and do this barehanded. I'm going to need to set it with the other arm. Taking a kettlebell from the bottom, gripping it without the handle, and pressing. Switching back and forth with arms. At this point, I'm getting pretty winded. Wanting to rest, but I still got a little more in me. I've got more kettlebells. Got a 106-pound kettlebell. I thought it was 108. I've been saying that wrong. Only 106, not 108. I'm weak. But let's just do some kettlebell swings now. I haven't really been doing much with the glutes yet. It's not too hard to grip, but I'm still working grip with it. Kind of involving the lats to lock at the top if you're doing proper kettlebell swings, which I'll try and demonstrate with a better angle for this. But, and give myself a nice little bit of a break here to explain this. If you're doing proper kettlebell swings, which a lot of people don't do, they do them wrong. Not that you aren't getting anything out of it when you do it wrong, but a little more unsafe. To do exercises, obviously the wrong way, kettlebell swings especially, and also you're not going to get really the end goal of why most people choose to do them, which is explosivity in the glutes, in the hamstrings a little bit, not quite as much, a little bit in the spinal erectors, not quite as much as well, but still it's mostly the glutes, and then also you are involving your lats, a little bit the rear delts, a little bit the rotator cuff to some degree, to stop it at the top if you're properly swinging it with enough momentum. So it's all about speed, it's all about control. It's not necessarily about using the max weight for it, but it's about using a heavy weight you can do high speed, high control with, and that's how you develop that power, that explosivity. All about power. Fuck, I don't remember the rest of it, but. All right, so 106 pound, let's do some kettlebell swings. I've warmed up all the muscle groups that are involved here. At the very least, I haven't practiced this exercise, this workout, so I haven't technically warmed it up. This would normally kind of be a high weight to just start with, but I have at least warmed up now all of these muscle groups involved. So get that proper bracing. And I'm not going to be able to start out with enough explosivity with this weight, but I'll be able to build up to it in a couple reps. Move away here from the weights. Now I need to rest. Oh. So, next I'll quick demonstrate what I was talking about with these T-bar rows. Make this a really wacky workout. Not do any real planning to it, I guess. But, oh well, still doing it. Sorry again about the framing. I do see it's a bit off, but you're gonna have to roll with not seeing my face for half this. Not that you guys want it anyways. Alright, so let's go with the heavier weight for this. So skip these 25s. I just kind of warmed up my lats a little there. Certainly wasn't the heaviest exercise to do from, but it was light. Got them warmed up, having to stop the weight at the top. Let's grab these 45s off here. I think I can fit a little more if I line these up right. That's definitely gonna fall off. Oh well. All right, I need a tissue. These are just added sound effects. That's not real. I'm not gross. All right. So my sketchy T-bar row leg thing with $215 on it. I do have to kind of, this is really uncomfortable and I can't do this exercise too many times each workout because probably wouldn't be the greatest thing for my tendons here, my ligaments, well, I guess just tendons here, but I have to push my kind of bottom of my kneecap and right up and up below it into the bar here to brace, since I don't have like a pad or anything or real good positioning to brace in, but push my knees into that, get a little bit of a good footing. I suppose I could pop these caps off. That'll make it hurt a little less. I've never tried this before. All right. Let's see how this goes. it's gonna rip. The rope has been ripping for a little while. I think this might be its last go. Talking about, so I'm going to take another little break, but keep working the biceps here with that. Talking about levers a little more, you can do the same thing with kettlebells. So I'm just going to demonstrate it again with the hammer curl, but I could do a normal, hand positioning similar to the traditional dumbbell curl, keep the weight in closer to my body, decrease the lever to the center of mass and make it a little easier, or I can make it harder, which a hammer curl with the same weight would, for me, not be normally. I think I can hammer curl quite a bit more than normally curl just because of my build, but with this I can set out the weight quite a bit further, change the lever, make it longer to the center of mass, make it much harder. Just to keep things even, let's do it with the other arm. So, demonstrating similar things with working the tricep here for stuff I can kind of do behind the head here. I could keep the weight in nice and close to my body. Makes it a little easier. I could put it out further, press it up, makes it a little harder. Also involves the wrist a little more, kind of good for working the forearms to some degree. Back to easier. Harder. Easier. Harder. Easier. Harder. Easier. Harder. So, you guys kind of see what I mean about being able to get weird with training. Make good use of minimal equipment. I only have up for plates going up to 390 pounds at the moment. I'm currently just prepping for the strict curl competition, which I'm not going to be curling 390 pounds. So I don't really have to worry about going above that for the moment. But I'd like to get a few more plates soon and start getting back to what I used to deadlift. I can still deadlift here with the 390 and do it for volume, but I can't go towards my max. I was in the past pulling 710 pounds raw couple years back and haven't really been deadlifting a ton since. I kind of took a break from strongman. Right now, before I go back into strongman, I'm just prepping for this strict curl contest primarily, getting back to being bigger and stronger everywhere and more conditioned everywhere, but focusing on trying to do that strict curl contest. I want to try and go for that world record. I think I mentioned it before, but I'd like to see if I can set it in the past at the last peak of my last blast, my in the gym strict curl, which doesn't matter, wasn't set in a contest, doesn't count, but still, I'm counting it in my head. My in the gym strict curl record was 225 pounds. Obviously not officiated, as I said, doesn't count, but there's not a lot of people that can claim that. So I'd like to back up that claim, do a contest soon, hopefully be in the running, if not break that world record. It's obviously not something I'm right next to, but within earshot, and I'm just going to be starting the prep now in the next couple weeks, getting real serious about the prep. But I've been kind of working towards it and focusing on it for a little while, and still doing my strongman style training. But stuff I could do with the strict curl, since I don't have an easy curl bar that trains me primarily for it, is like I could, even though a strict curl is, you've got your back up against a wall and you're braced, you're not going to be moving. I could still just take my barbell, put some weight on there, and be doing barbell curls, which is, I guess, the main thing I do for max explosiveness and max weight for carryover training right now. But just You know, it's not the same movement, it's not identical, but a lot of carryover. So throw some weight on there, get to doing some carryover training. Once I get close to the contest, sign back up for a gym a couple weeks out that has an easy curl bar and a nice open wall, and do some strict curl training and prep for the exercise and actually get the movement patterns down again. But like, this is kind of what I've done primarily for most of my strongman competitions. I shouldn't say most, I've done 2. But this is what I've been doing for most of my training for strongman. For the first couple of years, even when I was like seriously already like, all right, I'm gonna do strongman seriously. I'm gonna make my life training, make my life researching this stuff. I was still not doing strongman events at that time. I was just doing, primarily almost like power building style training, where it's training both for being capable of handling higher volume and being capable of handling, max weights and max explosiveness with just traditional exercises like the barbell row and deadlift and squat and things that have a lot of carryover to every exercise. And then once I got close to my competitions, I started going to a strongman gym, really popular, really famous strongman gym in the area, Madtown Gym. Got to see the likes of John Hack train there. I was kind of not close buddies with him, but associate buddies with him in the Badger Barbell Club. We both went to the same college at the same time, and we're in one of the same lifting clubs. And I got to see him train at Madtown and a bunch of other big guys and train with strongmen, and actually learn techniques from them. He didn't do strongman, but obviously he knows more techniques about powerlifting than almost anyone that I would probably have ever met. I got to talk to fellow strongman competitors and learn how they train, and have always been following professional strongman and learning tips about their training and techniques for specific events. Still never practicing it, and then in the weeks leading up to my contests would prepare for it. And sometimes this was a little limiting because the strongman gym didn't necessarily have all the equipment that every contest is going to demand. And sometimes you don't even necessarily know what your events will be going into a contest. It's rare nowadays that you don't know at least a few months out, but sometimes there are local contests that just do like day of, springing it on, and sometimes you even see that at the pro level. It's pretty rare, but it happens. That's how it used to be, was they wouldn't tell you in advance what the events are going to be, and you just show up and hope you're strong enough for them. And that's kind of cool, but it's hard to prep for that. But yeah, I didn't always have the ability to prep for every event. I would just do things that are close to it. So let's say, I'm doing a axle press, and fortunately we had an axle and everything, so this is a poor example, but they're doing an axle press and we don't have an axle. Well, get fat grips and just train with a normal barbell. You're not doing the exact same exercise, but it's damn near the same exercise. I don't know if you guys are familiar with what fat grips are. I have them upstairs. I'm not going to go get them, but you can wrap them around a bar. I think they're made by Mark Bell, and they thicken it. It's like a big rubber pad. You could also make your own with just like pool noodle, duct tape probably, but makes it harder to grip when the bar is a lot thicker, and harder to control when you're moving the weight overhead too, harder to stabilize. So you want to actually prep for that. You don't want to just do it with a barbell unless you absolutely only have that to work with, but you can adapt exercises and make them close to what you're wanting to do. Same with sports. Like, let's say you're a football player. The squat, the back squat, still has a lot of carryover. I'm not going to deny doing back squats will help you with your football performance quite a bit. But there are leg exercises that probably have more carryover for specific positions, especially that are very similar to the back squat, like the front squat. Let's say you're a lineman. Not saying don't back squat, but focus your training more around the front squat, where you're pushing the weight forward almost. You're prepping, or you're putting more of the weight on your quads. It's more front, forward propulsion. I'm sorry I'm wording this so poorly. I'm exhausted from doing that little circuit there. I don't usually do circuit style training. I just wanted to get a quick video in. But yeah, like, you can make training very specific to your sport without having specific equipment. You just got to put a little thought into it, you know, make the best with what you have. Another thing I can show you as an example of just being weirdly creative. Let's say you're going on a vacation and you don't want to pack a lot. All I want to bring is this kettlebell and a band, which is pretty easy to pack. Let's see what the weight is for this band. I don't actually know. It might not say on it. I don't know. I got this for free from a guy who used to write for what was it? Muscle and Fitness when he was moving out, and I helped him move out. But I got some equipment from him, like some dumbbells and this band. Let's say I want to work chest. The dumbbell wasn't, or the kettlebell wasn't enough. Take the band, got the kettlebell. So you guys kind of see my point. I do want to end the video here because I want to actually work out, but it's pretty easy to make things the way you need for your sport, even if you don't have what you need for your sport. I obviously probably have a little more equipment than a lot of you would have for a home gym, but you know, you can definitely make a lot more use of a lot of this stuff in a normal commercial gym than what I have here too. So make the best of what you have and plan your training accordingly. Put a little thought into it. Learn a lot about, you know, movement dynamics and stuff like that. Try and understand a bit about anatomy and how muscles, you know, are lining up and how they're going to play into exercises and what you're kind of distributing the weight on more throughout. And you can do a little bit of that based just off feel alone, because I mean, some of that you're going to need to as well. It might not necessarily just be what the weight is primarily normally loaded onto. It might also be what your weakness in the chain is that you need to kind of think about quite a bit. So let's say I'm squatting or doing front squats, and I know that, you know, it's more quad dominant than a back squat. Well, if my weakness is, my spinal erectors and my glutes in the chain, then I'm still going to have issues, potentially more so with that, just than I would with the quads, even though it's putting more of the load on my quads. They might be what the limiting factor is in the end anyways, just because it's pulling me forward more, it's putting more strain there, it's involving more action with them as well. So just things to consider. Try and make the best of what you got.